Millionaire finds letter in trash of his mansion. When he opens it, he breaks down at what he sees. Michael Harrison was desperately rummaging through the trash bags scattered across the yard of his Brentwood mansion, his trembling hands searching for something he couldn't even properly explain. The 46-year-old businessman, owner of one of the largest construction companies in Los Angeles, never imagined he would be there, in his suit and tie, digging through leftovers like a homeless person. Everything started when Margaret, his housekeeper of decades, came to him with tears in her eyes that morning, confessing she had thrown away something important by mistake. She spoke of a letter she had kept secret for years, until Jennifer, her younger sister, found it during her last visit and angrily threw it in the trash. "Mr. Michael, I need to tell you something I should have said a long time ago," said Margaret, wiping her eyes with her apron. "Your sister found some old papers I was keeping and became furious. She said I had no right to keep memories that weren't mine." Michael stopped organizing the company documents he was working on and looked at the woman who practically raised him after his mother became a widow. "What kind of papers, Margaret?" "A letter, sir. A letter you wrote when you were 8 years old, to your father." The businessman felt his blood run cold in his veins. His father had abandoned the family when he was just a child, leaving his mother, Elizabeth, alone to raise 2 young children. It was a wound that never fully healed, even after all the success he achieved. "Where is this letter now?" "Miss Jennifer threw it in the trash last night, along with other old things. She said I was a sentimental old woman and that it was time to stop living in the past." That's how Michael found himself there, searching through smelly bags, until his fingers touched a crumpled paper with his childish handwriting. With his heart racing, he carefully unfolded the yellowed sheet. "Daddy, please come home. Mommy cries every night, and I promise I'll be a good boy. I know you don't like us anymore, but I love you very much. Your son, Michael." Tears began to stream down the successful man's face as he read those words written with the innocence of a child who didn't understand why his hero had disappeared from his life. He sat right there, on the bench near the garage gate, holding the letter as if it were the most precious thing in the world. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Margaret slowly approached, seeing Michael's emotional state. "Sir, there's more I need to tell you. About your father, about what really happened back then." "Margaret, my father abandoned us. I've known that since I was a child. My mother always made that very clear." "No, Mr. Michael, he didn't abandon you. Mrs. Elizabeth asked him to leave." Michael looked up from the letter, incredulous. "What are you saying?" "Your father was too good a man for this world. He worked at a metalworking factory, earned little, but every week set aside part of his money to help needier families in the neighborhood. Your mother found out and became furious." The housekeeper sat beside him, as if finally able to share a burden she had carried for decades. Mrs. Elizabeth said he was taking food from his own children's mouths to give to strangers, that he didn't know how to be a responsible father. Actually, she had been distancing herself from him for some time, thinking she deserved better. "That can't be true, Margaret. My mother would never lie about something like that." "Mr. Michael, I was there that night. I heard the whole argument. Your father begged to stay, said he would change, that he would stop helping others if necessary. But your mother had already made her decision. She said he had 24 hours to leave the house." Michael felt the world spinning around him. Everything he had believed in for almost 40 years was being questioned. "And I wrote this letter after he left? You kept waiting for him to come back for weeks. You wrote letters, drew pictures, left them on the kitchen table thinking he would come get them. Your mother threw everything away, but I kept this one. Why did you never tell me this before?" "Mrs. Elizabeth made me swear I would never say anything. She said it would be better for you to grow up without false hopes. And then, when you became rich, when you found out you inherited money from your father—" "Wait, what do you mean I inherited money from my father? My mother always said all our fortune came from her life insurance and the investments she made." Margaret lowered her eyes, clearly uncomfortable. "Mr. Michael, your father never stopped sending money for you, even after he left home. He started a small construction company, and when it started doing well every month, He sent an amount to your mother. He said it was for the children's education. Are you telling me my company was built with my father's money? Part of it, yes. Your father became a very successful man after he left here, but he never married again, never started another family. He said he already had children and an ex-wife to take care of. At that moment, the gate of the mansion opened and Jennifer entered, driving her blue Lexus. At 42, Michael's younger sister had always resented the fact that he inherited most of the family's assets. "What's going on here?" asked Jennifer, noticing her brother sitting with paper in hand and Margaret beside him. "Michael, why are you going through the trash? Jennifer, we need to talk now." The tension in the air was palpable. Jennifer looked at Margaret angrily. "I told this old woman to throw away that old nonsense, and she told you, didn't she? Why did you do it, Jennifer? Why did you throw the letter away?" "Because I'm tired of seeing this maid living in the past, keeping memories that only cause pain. Our father abandoned us, Michael. Accept that once and for all." "That's not true," interrupted Margaret, standing up with renewed courage. "Miss Jennifer, you know very well that's not true." Jennifer paled. "What are you talking about, Margaret? You were 14 when your father left home. You were old enough to understand what was happening, and you remember very well the conversations between your parents." Michael stood up, realizing there were many more secrets to be revealed. "Jennifer, what does Margaret mean?" "Nothing, Michael. They're an old woman's fantasies." "Miss Jennifer," continued Margaret, now with a firm voice, "do you remember when your mother found out your father was helping Mrs. Wilson's family, who had 5 small children and her husband had lost his job, and the time he paid for Mr. Johnson's son's surgery?" Jennifer clenched her fists, clearly bothered by the direction of the conversation. "He was wasting our money on strangers. It was the money he earned with his own sweat, miss, and it wasn't much, but he shared it with those who needed it more. Did that make him a bad man?" Michael looked at his sister, seeing her in a new light. "Jennifer, did you know our father didn't abandon us?" "Michael, don't let this maid fill your head with these stories. Our mother told us the truth." "What truth? The truth that he was an irresponsible man who abandoned us? Or the truth that our mother kicked him out because she didn't approve of his generosity?" Jennifer looked away, clearly uncomfortable. "It doesn't matter anymore, Michael. He's gone. Our mother is gone. Why stir all this up now?" "Because it matters to me," exploded Michael. "Because I spent my whole life feeling rejected by a man who may have never rejected me at all." "Mr. Michael," interrupted Margaret softly, "there's something Miss Jennifer isn't telling you about the visits." "What visits?" Jennifer became visibly nervous. "Margaret, shut up. No, Miss Jennifer, no more secrets. Mr. Michael, your father tried to come back several times, especially when you got sick with pneumonia when you were 12. Michael vaguely remembered a time when he was very ill, hospitalized for almost 2 weeks. He came to the hospital. Every day, sir. He would stay outside because your mother wouldn't let him in. I would bring him news about you." The man cried in despair, thinking he was going to lose his son. "And you knew about this, Jennifer?" Jennifer finally broke down. "Fine. I knew, okay. I knew he came, that he tried to talk to us. But Mum said it was better this way, that he would only bring confusion into our lives. Better for whom, Jennifer? For all of us. Do you think it would be easy to live between 2 versions of the truth, with Daddy saying one thing and Mommy another?" Michael sat back down on the bench, trying to process all those revelations. "Where is he now, Margaret? Do you know?" "I'm not sure, Mr. Michael, but I have the phone number of someone who might know." "Who?" "Mrs. Dorothy Smith. She was your mother's best friend before all this happened. After your father left, they had a falling out because Mrs. Dorothy thought your mother had been unfair." Jennifer approached, clearly agitated. "Michael, you're not really going to look for him, are you? Why does that bother you so much, Jennifer?" Before she could answer, a lady with graying hair appeared at the mansion's gate. "Excuse me, does Michael Harrison live here?" The 3 turned, surprised by the appearance. "That's me. How can I help you?" "My name is Dorothy Smith. I was a friend of your mother, Elizabeth." Michael and Jennifer exchanged surprised looks. "Mrs. Dorothy," exclaimed Margaret, "I was just talking about you. Hi, Margaret. Michael, I came here because the time has finally come to deliver something your mother asked me to keep safe. The elderly lady opened her purse and took out a sealed envelope yellowed with age. Your mother gave this to me shortly before she passed. She said I should only deliver it when you found the letter you wrote to your father as a child. Michael was speechless. How did she know I would find the letter? Because she knew Margaret had kept it, and she knew that one day the truth would come out. With trembling hands, Michael opened the envelope. Inside were several old photographs and a letter. The photos showed a familiar-looking man at various moments, watching a soccer game at a school, sitting discreetly in the audience at a graduation, waiting outside a hospital. My God, it's my father. He was there. He was at every important moment of your life, Michael, said Mrs. Dorothy. Your mother knew but never let you know. Michael looked at his mother's letter with tears in his eyes. He read aloud, My son, if you are reading this, it means you have finally found the letter you wrote to your father. I know I made many mistakes, but I made the decisions I thought were best at the time. Your father is a good man, too generous for his own good. I was afraid you would grow up poor because of his kindness. Now I realize I may have deprived you of something far more valuable than money, the love of a present father. Forgive me, my son. He lives at 247 Maple Street in Pasadena. He never stopped loving you. Silence fell over the group. Jennifer was visibly shaken. I didn't know Mom had left this, she said, her voice choked. Your mother carried this burden until her last day, said Mrs. Dorothy. She told me that your father never married again, that he lived modestly and that every week he bought flowers to take to her grave. He visits my mother's grave. Every week, religiously, all these years. Michael stood up determined. I'm going there. I need to see him. Michael, wait, said Jennifer, holding her brother's arm. What if he doesn't want to talk to you? What if... Jennifer, I have to try. I wasted 40 years of my life believing I was rejected. I won't waste another day. Mr. Michael, interrupted Margaret, there's one more thing you need to know before you go. What now, Margaret? About the money that Miss Jennifer receives every month. Jennifer turned completely pale. Margaret, no. What money? Asked Michael. Miss Jennifer receives a bank transfer every month for 5 years. She said it was from an investment her mother had made, but... Jennifer, what is this about? Jennifer sat down heavily on a garden chair. All right, Michael, I get money from Daddy. What do you mean? 5 years ago, he looked for me. He said he knew I was having financial difficulties after the divorce and that he wanted to help. Michael was perplexed. And you accepted? At first, no, but he insisted so much. He said it was the least he could do for his daughter. And I needed the money, Michael. Why did you never tell me? Because I was ashamed of having accepted money from a man I spent my whole life speaking ill of. And also because... Because what, Jennifer? Because I was afraid that you would go after him and find out that he was always a better man than we thought. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Mrs. Dorothy approached Michael. Son, your father always asked about you. He has an album with all your professional achievements, newspaper clippings, photos of the projects your company built. He is very proud of you. How do you know that? Because my late husband worked at the same construction company that your father set up after he left here. They became partners and great friends. Your father always talked about his children. Michael looked at the photos again, seeing for the first time the paternal love that had been denied to him for so many years. Jennifer, do you have his address? I do, but Michael... But what? What if after talking to him you don't want to give me an allowance anymore? What if you find out I lied to him too? What do you mean? Jennifer took a deep breath before continuing. I told him that you hate me, that you never want to know about him. I said that you spoke badly of him to everyone, and that you held a lot of resentment. Why did you do that? Because I didn't want him to try to get close to you and find out that I was secretly receiving money from him. I was afraid that you would be angry with me. Michael shook his head, incredulous at so many lies and secrets. Jennifer, you complicated everything. I know, Michael, and I regret it so much. At that moment, Robert, The family driver for over 15 years approached the group. "Mr. Michael, sorry to interrupt, but I heard the conversation from afar and I need to say something." "What is it, Robert?" "About your father. I know him." Everyone looked at Robert surprised. "What do you mean?" "Mr. Michael, your father has been paying me for years to give him news about you. Every month he calls me, asks how you are, if you're in good health, if the company is doing well." "Are you serious?" "Yes, sir, and that's not all. Remember that time you had a car accident 2 years ago, and a mechanic appeared out of nowhere to help? That was him." Michael vaguely remembered the episode. A kind man had appeared when he was with his broken-down car on the road, helped him solve the problem and left without accepting payment. "Was that man my father?" "Yes, sir. He was returning from a business meeting in San Diego when he saw you on the road. He called me afterward, emotional, saying he had managed to help his son after so many years. And I didn't even recognize him. Mr. Michael, you were very nervous about the car trouble, and your father. He has aged quite a bit over these years." Michael felt a tightening in his chest, thinking of all the missed opportunities. "Robert, do you have his phone number?" "Yes, I do, sir." "Jennifer, where did you say he lives?" "Maple Street, 247 in Pasadena." Michael headed into the house. "Where are you going?" asked Jennifer. "To change clothes and go there." "Michael, wait, maybe it's better to call first." "No, Jennifer, I've waited long enough." An hour later, Michael was driving on the road connecting Brentwood to Pasadena, his heart beating fast. He had changed from his formal suit into simpler clothes, a pair of jeans and a blue polo shirt. Maple Street was a quiet street, with simple but well-kept houses. Number 247 was a single-story house, painted white with blue details, with a well-maintained garden in front. Michael parked across the street and watched for a few minutes. He saw a grey-haired man watering the plants in the garden. He was shorter than he remembered, thinner, but there was something familiar in his posture, in the way he moved. He took a deep breath and crossed the street. "Excuse me." The man turned, and Michael saw his own aged face looking back at him. The same brown eyes, the same nose shape, the same jawline. "Michael," the voice came out as a whisper. "Hi, Dad." The hose slipped from William Harrison's hands as he stared at the son he hadn't seen up close in almost 30 years. "My son, you've grown so much." Michael approached slowly, as if walking toward a dream that could vanish at any moment. "Dad, I need to talk to you." Of course. Please come in." The inside of the house was simple but cozy. In the living room, Michael immediately noticed the walls covered with frames. They were newspaper clippings about his company, photos of him at professional events, awards he had received. "You kept all of this?" William lowered his eyes, embarrassed. "I know I have no right, but you're my son. I've always been proud of you, even from afar." Michael sat on the sofa, still holding the letter he had found in the trash. "Dad, I brought something to show you." He showed the crumpled letter. William recognized it immediately, and his eyes filled with tears. "You kept this all these years?" "It wasn't me. It was Margaret. And today she told me the truth about what really happened when I was a child." William sat in an armchair facing his son. "Michael, I always wanted to explain everything to you, but your mother thought it would be better this way. Why didn't you fight more? Why didn't you try to see us? Son, I tried many times, but your mother was convinced I was a bad influence. She said that as long as I kept giving money to the poor, you would go without. But you never stopped helping us. How could I? You were my life. Even though I couldn't be present, I made sure you lacked nothing." Michael looked around the modest house. "Do you live alone?" "Yes. I never managed to be interested in anyone else. Your mother and you were my family. Even after everything, I still loved her." "Did you know she kept photos of you? That she left me a letter revealing where you lived?" William was surprised. "I didn't know Elizabeth really did that." "She did. I think she regretted the choices she made." They sat in silence for a few minutes, absorbing the gravity of the moment. "Dad, I want to understand everything. How did you manage to build a company?" How did you know about my business?" William stood up and went to a piece of furniture from which he retrieved a folder. "After I left home, I started working as a construction worker for some contractors. It was a good period for construction, the late 80s. I managed to save some money and form a partnership with a friend. He showed old documents to Michael. At first it was just small renovations, but we grew. When you started your company, I found out through mutual friends in the industry. I was always proud to see that you chose the same field as me. You followed my career. Every week I bought the business newspapers to see if there was news about your company. When you won that Emerging Entrepreneur Award, I cried with emotion. Michael was moved to realize the constant love he had lost due to misunderstandings and pride. Dad, Jennifer told me that you help her financially. William sighed. Your sister came to me a few years ago. She said she was going through difficulties after the divorce. How could I deny help to my daughter? But she said I didn't want to know about you. She did, and I respected your decision. I thought that after so many years of absence you had really forgotten me or built up resentment. Dad, I spent my whole life missing you. I always thought there was something wrong with me, that I wasn't a good enough son for you to want to stay. William quickly stood up and sat next to his son on the sofa. Michael, you were the best son a father could have. Everything I did after I left home was thinking of you. If I built anything in life, it was to leave it to you. How so? My company has grown a lot over the years. I have considerable assets now. And in my will, everything is divided between you and Jennifer. Michael was surprised. Dad, I don't need money. I just wish I had had you in my life. I know, son, but it's important for me to know that I left something material too. That I fulfilled my role as a father, even from afar. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Michael looked at that man he had idealized and demonized throughout his life and saw only a father who had done the best he could under difficult circumstances. Dad, what do you do now? Do you still work in construction? I still have the company, but my partners handle the operational part. I devote myself more to social projects. What kind of projects? William smiled for the first time since Michael arrived. You know that habit of helping the poor that used to bother your mother so much? I never lost it. Today I have the means to do much more. He took Michael to a room that served as an office. The walls were covered with photos of children, certificates from charitable institutions and construction plans. We built a school in Compton, a medical center in Inglewood, and we're finishing an orphanage in Torrance. Michael examined the photos, impressed with the scale of the projects. All this with your own resources? Mine and some partners who share the same vision. You know, Michael, after I lost you, I found purpose in helping other families not to separate. How so? Many families separate due to financial difficulties. Husbands who leave home because they can't support the family, mothers who abandon children because they have nowhere to live. Our projects try to prevent that. Michael felt a deep admiration for that man who had transformed his own pain into motivation to help others. Dad, I would like to learn about these projects, and who knows, participate in them. Would you do that? Of course. Actually, I've been thinking about diversifying my company's investments, including social responsibility in our projects. William couldn't contain his emotion. Michael, you don't know how much this would mean to me. Working together with my son, it's a dream I never thought would come true. Dad, we have a lot of lost time to make up for, but we can start now. They spent the rest of the afternoon talking, filling in the gaps of almost 3 decades. William showed photos of the company, told stories about the social projects, spoke about the people he had helped over the years. Michael in turn talked about his personal life, his relationships, his difficulties maintaining emotional connections, something he now understood better, knowing he had grown up with the feeling of paternal abandonment. When the sun began to set, Michael realized he had spent hours there and hadn't even told anyone. Dad, I need to go back, but I want you to come for dinner at our house tomorrow. We have so much more to talk about. Are you sure? What if Jennifer feels uncomfortable? Jennifer needs to face her own contradictions, and Margaret will be thrilled to see you again. Margaret, how is she? Well, she always took care of us as if we were her own children. I think she was the person who suffered the most from this whole separation. She was a good friend. She always defended you when your mother was being too strict. On the way back home, Michael thought about how his life had changed in just one day. He had woken up thinking he was the son of a man who had rejected him, and discovered that he was actually the son of a man who had loved him unconditionally his whole life. When he got home, he found Jennifer waiting in the living room, visibly anxious. So, how did it go? Jennifer, why did you lie to him about me? I already explained, Michael. I was afraid. Afraid of what, exactly? Jennifer stood up and started pacing the room. Afraid that you would discover our father is truly an amazing person. Afraid that you would realize I've been a coward all these years. Afraid of losing the only family I had left. Jennifer, you're not going to lose anything, but we need to set this right. Our father is coming for dinner here tomorrow. What? Michael, I don't know if I'm ready for that. You're going to have to get ready, and you're going to have to tell him the truth about what you said about me. What if he gets angry and stops helping me financially? Michael stopped and looked at his sister with a mixture of disappointment and understanding. Jennifer, do you really think our father is the type of person who would abandon his daughter over a lie? After everything you learned about him today? Jennifer sat down again, visibly shaken. I know he's a good person, Michael. That's why I feel so awful. Then it's time to do the right thing. The next morning, Michael woke up early and went to the company. He had an important meeting with investors, but his mind was completely focused on the evening's dinner. During the meeting, he presented a new proposal to the partners to allocate part of the company's profits to social responsibility projects, specifically in the area of affordable housing. Michael, this is a significant change to our strategy, said Dr. Anderson, one of the main investors. Where did this idea come from? From a personal reflection on our company's purpose. We build houses for those who have money. How about we also build for those who need them? The proposal generated heated debate, but Michael argued with such passion that he managed to get a pilot project approved. In the late afternoon, he stopped at a flower shop and bought a bouquet of flowers for Margaret. He knew the reunion with William would be especially emotional for her. When he got home, the dining room table was set with the special china that was only used on important occasions. Margaret had prepared a careful dinner: rice with chicken, free-range chicken, vinaigrette salad and flan. Margaret, thank you for keeping that letter all these years. Mr. Michael, I always knew that one day the truth would come out. I just didn't think it would take so long. Jennifer appeared dressed more carefully than usual, clearly nervous. Michael, I wrote a letter to Dad, explaining everything, asking for forgiveness. Good idea, but you'll have to speak in person too. At 7 in the evening, the doorbell rang. Michael went to open the door and found William holding a bouquet of white roses. For Margaret, he said with a shy smile. They were always her favorite flowers. Dad. Jennifer appeared behind Michael, and for the first time in decades, she called him father. William was moved to see his daughter. Jennifer, my girl. They hugged, and Jennifer began to cry. Dad, I need to ask for forgiveness. I lied to you about Michael. He never spoke ill of you. I made that up because you were afraid, William completed. I understand, daughter. I also made many mistakes. Margaret appeared in the living room, and upon seeing William couldn't hold back her tears. Mr. William, after so many years... Margaret, my friend, thank you for taking care of my children. I just did what anyone would do. No, Margaret, you did much more than that. You were the mother they needed when I couldn't be present. The dinner was emotional. William told stories from when Michael and Jennifer were children, memories they had forgotten. He talked about how he found out about the important moments in their lives, the graduations, the first jobs, Jennifer's marriage, her divorce, the growth of Michael's company. Dad, you were present in a way I never knew, said Michael. I wanted to be physically present, son, but I did what I could to follow your lives from a distance. Jennifer fidgeted restlessly in her chair. Dad, there's something I need to tell you. What is it, daughter? About the money you send me every month. I don't use it just for my personal needs. William looked at her curiously. What do you mean? I use part of it to help needy families in the area. I think I inherited that from you. Michael was surprised. Jennifer had never mentioned social work. Jennifer, since when have you been doing this? Since I started receiving help from Dad. At first I felt guilty for accepting the money, so I decided to use part of it to help other people. It's a way to honor his example. William smiled proudly. Daughter, you don't know how happy that makes me. Actually, Dad, I would like to propose something. How about if we joined our efforts? Michael is looking to get into the social area through his company. I already have some small projects in the community, and you have experience and resources. Michael was impressed with his sister's maturity. Jennifer, that's an excellent idea. We can form a family foundation, suggested William, each contributing what they do best. Margaret, who was listening quietly, spoke up. Mr. William, if I may, I would like to suggest the Foundation's first project. Of course, Margaret. What would it be? A support center for families in conflict situations, a place where parents and children can resolve their differences through dialogue and guidance, avoiding unnecessary separations. Everyone fell silent, absorbing the depth of the suggestion. Margaret, that's perfect, said Michael. How many families could be saved if they had a place like that? And we know exactly how a family separated by misunderstandings feels, added Jennifer. William was moved. You want to turn our pain into hope for other families? Not only do we want to, Dad. Let's do it, said Michael with determination. From that night on, the three of them began meeting regularly to plan the Foundation's projects. Michael discovered that his father had a business vision very similar to his own, while Jennifer revealed a natural talent for social work. 3 months later, they inaugurated the Elizabeth Harrison Family Mediation Center, in honor of the mother and wife who, despite her mistakes, had been the bond between all of them. The center offered family therapy, conflict mediation, psychological support, and even free legal assistance for families in crisis. The project was so successful that it soon received support from other companies and became a reference in the region. Michael discovered that working with his father and sister brought him a personal fulfillment he had never experienced in the traditional business world. William, in turn, could finally be the present father he had always wanted to be, even if belatedly. Jennifer transformed her guilt into motivation and became one of the center's main managers, specializing in cases of single mothers and children in conflict with paternal figures. 1 year after the reunion, the Harrison family was gathered again in William's garden, but this time to celebrate the center's first anniversary. Dad, do you remember the letter I wrote when I was 8 years old? Asked Michael. How could I forget? I said I wanted you to come back home. In a way, that happened. You came back to our family. William smiled, watering the same flowers he tended on the day Michael showed up at his door. Son, I never left the family. It just took us all a while to realize that. Jennifer approached the two. Do you know what moves me the most about this whole story? What? They asked together. It's thinking about how many families our center has already helped to reunite. How many children won't spend 40 years thinking they were rejected by their parents. And how many fathers won't die without having the chance to explain their decisions to their children, added William. Margaret appeared with a tray of lemonade, smiling at the scene. Mrs. Elizabeth would be proud to see you like this. Margaret, do you think my mother really regretted the choices she made? Asked Michael. Mr. Michael, your mother came to me many times over the years. She knew she had made mistakes, but had too much pride to admit it. It was only at the end of her life that she managed to leave that letter for you. Sometimes people make choices they think are right at the time, but later realize they were mistaken, reflected William. The important thing is that she gave me the two most valuable treasures of my life, you. Michael looked at that scene, his father tending the garden, his sister helping Margaret serve the lemonade, the simple but love-filled house, and realized he had found something more valuable than all the money in the world, a reunited family. Dad, can I ask you a question? Of course, son. Have you ever thought about moving to a bigger house, with all the prosperity you've achieved?" William looked around his modest home. "Michael, this house witnessed my longing for you all these years. Every room has a prayer I said for you. Every plant in the garden was watered with tears of hope. How could I abandon the place where I kept our family alive in my heart? Then maybe we could renovate, expand, make a space where we could all gather regularly. Would you do that for me?" "No, Dad. I'd do it for us, for our family." Jennifer approached. "Can I suggest something? What if we turn part of the house into a mini headquarters for the foundation? A place where the families we serve can come for smaller, more intimate meetings." "Jennifer, you're a genius," said Michael. "Imagine the symbolism. A house where a family reunited helping other families reunite." William was moved by the proposal. "Do you really want to do this?" "Daddy, we want to do much more than that," said Jennifer. "We want to make up for all the lost time." That night, when Michael returned to his mansion in Brentwood, he no longer felt the emptiness that had always followed him. The luxurious house remained the same, but he had found what truly mattered, the certainty that he was loved and valued by the father he had spent his whole life searching for. He sat in his office and took out a sheet of paper. He began to write, "Father, thank you for teaching me, even from afar, that loving means sacrificing for the good of the loved one. Thank you for keeping our family alive in your heart all these years, and thank you for turning your pain into strength to help others. Your loving son, Michael." He put the letter in a drawer, deciding to deliver it in person the next day. After all, now they had all the time in the world to exchange letters, conversations, and hugs that had been lost for so many years. Outside, the rain began to fall gently over Los Angeles, washing the streets and preparing the ground for a new day. A day when Michael Harrison would wake up knowing exactly who he was, the son of a man who had loved him forever, even when that love had to be silent and from a distance. The crumpled letter he had found in the trash was now framed in his office, not as a reminder of pain, but as a symbol that true love always finds a way back home. Jennifer, in her apartment, also couldn't sleep. She picked up the phone and called her father. "Daddy, I know it's late, but—" "Jennifer, my daughter. Is something wrong?" "No, Daddy. I just wanted to say I love you. And please forgive me for taking so long to admit that. My dear, you don't need to apologize anymore. What matters is that we're together now." "Daddy, can I tell you something?" "Of course. All these years that I received help from you, I never had the courage to say thank you properly. It wasn't just about the money. It was about knowing I had a father who cared about me, even though I was so ungrateful. Jennifer, you were never ungrateful. You were a child trying to understand a complicated adult situation. You're too good, Daddy. I think I inherited your habit of helping others, but it took me a long time to accept it. And now that you have? Now I want to make a difference in the lives of people going through what we went through. I want our pain to help heal the pain of other families. My daughter, you make me very proud." After hanging up, Jennifer looked out her apartment window. She could see the city lights stretching to the horizon. Somewhere out there, families were facing the same difficulties they had faced, but now she knew she could do something to help. The next day, Michael arrived early at the company and called a meeting with all the employees. "Everyone, I want to tell you a story," he began, "about a man who lost his family because of misunderstandings, but who never stopped loving." He told the whole team the story of reuniting with his father, the foundation they had created, and how it had changed his perspective on true success. "Starting today, our company will not just be a construction company. We will be a company that builds families, that rebuilds relationships, that builds dreams." The team was deeply touched by the account. Many identified with the story, and several employees volunteered to work on the foundation's projects. "Mr. Michael," said Barbara, the head of the personnel department, "my son also grew up without his father present. After hearing your story, I think I'm going to try to find him." "Do that, Barbara. But remember, not all stories have the same ending. What matters is trying." That afternoon, Michael, Jennifer, and William gathered to plan the expansion of the Pasadena house. They had hired an architect specialized in social projects to create a space that was both functional and welcoming. "The idea is for families to feel at home here," explained the architect. "Not in an institutional environment, but in a place where they can talk openly." "Perfect," said William. "It was in a house like this that our family reunited. During the construction, which lasted 3 months, they continued serving families at the main center. Each case reinforced the importance of the work they were doing. There was the story of Mrs. Martha, who hadn't spoken to her son for 15 years because of an argument over inheritance. There was that of Robert, who had kicked his daughter out of the house when she got pregnant at 17, and now wanted to meet his grandson. There was that of Kimberly, who grew up thinking her father had died, when in fact he was alive and living in another city. Every family they helped reinforced for Michael, Jennifer, and William that they had found their true purpose in life. The reopening of the Pasadena house was an emotional event. Besides the Harrison family, some of the families who had been helped by the center were present, along with social work professionals and representatives from other organizations. Margaret was the master of ceremonies, and her opening remarks were especially touching. "A year and a half ago, this house held only the longing of a father for the children he couldn't see. Today, it transforms into a place where parents and children can reunite. It's a transformation that symbolizes the very story of the Harrison family." Michael gave a speech about the importance of forgiveness and communication in family relationships. Jennifer spoke about how misunderstandings can be resolved when there is willingness from both sides. William, emotional, thanked everyone who made that dream possible. "When I lost my family, I thought I had lost everything," he said, "but I discovered that true love is never lost. It only transforms, waiting for the right moment to manifest again." The most emotional moment of the ceremony was when Michael handed his father the letter he had written the night before. William read it aloud, and there wasn't a dry eye in the audience. After the ceremony, people visited the new facilities. There was a cozy meeting room, a space for children to play while parents talked, a small library with books about family relationships, and even a therapeutic garden where families could walk and talk. "Dad, what do you think of the result?" asked Michael. "Son, this house now has a soul. It has purpose. It has life. And it has a future," added Jennifer. "A great future." 3 years had passed since the Harrison family reunion. The Elizabeth Harrison Family Mediation Center had become a national reference, serving over 1,000 families and successfully reuniting approximately 70% of them. Michael had married Amanda, a psychologist he met during one of the foundation's events. She had specialized in family therapy and become one of the center's main professionals. Jennifer had also rebuilt her love life, marrying Dr. Benjamin, a doctor who volunteered at the foundation. They were expecting their first child, who would be William's first grandchild. "Dad, when my son is born, he'll grow up knowing he has a present grandfather," said Jennifer during one of the Sunday lunches that had become a family tradition. "Jennifer, being a present grandfather will be my greatest achievement," replied William, emotional. Michael and Amanda were also planning to have children soon. "Our children will grow up in a united family," said Michael. "They'll know from a young age the value of every family member. And they'll grow up seeing that even when things go wrong, there's always a chance to start over," added Amanda. Margaret, now officially retired but still living in Michael's mansion as part of the family, had become the official grandmother to all of William's future grandchildren. "Mr. William, who would have thought that crumpled letter in the trash would transform so many lives?" she said during one of the family gatherings. "Margaret, you were fundamental in all this. If you hadn't kept the letter—" "Don't you believe in destiny?" she asked. "I'm certain you would have found each other one way or another. True love always finds a way." That day, Michael was organizing the foundation's documents when he found a folder with thank you letters from families they had helped. He read some of them aloud to the family. "Thank you for helping me understand that my father wasn't a coward, but rather a man who made difficult decisions thinking about my well-being. Today, we're a united family again." Signed, Jessica Smith. You taught me that pride is a luxury families in crisis can't afford. Today, my son and I talk every day. Signed, Richard Thompson. My daughter was pregnant and I kicked her out of the house. You showed me that being a grandfather is more important than judging my children's choices. Today, I take care of my grandson every day while she works. Signed, Robert Miller. So many families transformed, observed Jennifer. And to think it all started with a letter from an 8-year-old child. Actually, said William, it all started with a wrong decision that 3 adults made 40 years ago, which proves it's never too late to correct the mistakes of the past. Daddy, do you still have any regrets about that time? Asked Michael. William thought for a few seconds before answering. Son, if I could go back in time, I would have fought harder to stay with you. I would have insisted more. I would have looked for other solutions. But I can't change the past. I can only make sure the present is different. And that's what we're doing, said Jennifer, making sure other families don't go through what we went through. And that when they do, they have somewhere to turn for help, added Michael. That night, Michael returned home thinking about how his life had completely changed since that day he found the letter in the trash. He was no longer a successful but emotionally empty businessman. He was a son who had recovered his father, a brother who had reconciled with his sister, a happy husband and a man with purpose. He sat on his porch, looking at the city lights, and remembered the 8-year-old child who had written that desperate letter, asking his father to come home. Daddy finally came home, he thought, finally, and he brought the whole family with him. Amanda approached and sat beside him. What are you thinking about? About how funny destiny is. I spent 40 years seeking approval and success to compensate for the rejection I thought I had suffered, and I discovered I was never rejected, that I was always loved. And now? Now I know my purpose isn't just to be professionally successful. It's to use that success to help other people find the love they might have lost along the way. Michael, have you ever thought about writing a book about your family's story? I have, yes. But I think our story isn't over yet. We still have so much to build together. You're right. And when our children grow up, they'll be able to read this story and understand they come from a family that knew how to overcome adversity through love. Michael smiled, imagining the children they would soon have listening to the story of how their grandfather and father found each other through a lost letter in the trash. Amanda, do you know what the biggest lesson I learned from all this was? What? That sometimes people make wrong choices for the right reasons. My mother believed she was protecting the family by pushing my father away. Jennifer believed she was protecting herself by lying about me. I believed I was being strong by not searching for my father all these years. And your father? My father was the only one who always made the right choices, even when it hurt, even when he wasn't understood. Maybe that's why you found each other again. His love never gave up. Michael took his wife's hand. Promise me one thing, Amanda. What? If we ever have problems, if something ever goes wrong between us, promise me we'll talk, that we'll fight for our family before making any drastic decisions. I promise. And do you promise you'll always remember this story when you think something has no solution? I promise. They sat there in silence, each lost in their own thoughts, but united by the certainty that they had a beautiful story to tell and an even more beautiful future to build. The next day, the Harrison family received an unexpected call. It was from a television station that had learned about their story through the foundation's work. We'd like to make a documentary about your story, said the producer. We believe it could inspire many other families. Michael, Jennifer, and William gathered to discuss the proposal. What do you think? Asked Michael. I think it could help many people, said Jennifer. How many families are separated right now because of pride or misunderstandings? But it could also expose our privacy in a way we're not prepared for, pondered William. Dad, maybe that's exactly what we need to do. Expose our vulnerability so other people feel encouraged to do the same. After much discussion, they decided to accept the proposal, but with some conditions. The focus should be on the message of hope and reconciliation, not the family drama. And part of the profits should go toward expanding the foundation's projects. The documentary was filmed over 6 months, following the family's work at the mediation center and telling the story of their reunion through emotional testimonies. The most touching moment of the recording was when Michael and William visited Elizabeth's grave together. It was the first time Michael had seen his father at the cemetery. "Dad, do you really come here every week?" "Yes, I do. I bring flowers and talk to her. I tell her about you, about the grandchildren on the way, about the foundation." "What do you say to her?" "That we managed to be a family again, that she can rest in peace because her children are well." Michael knelt beside his mother's grave and left a letter. "What did you write?" asked William. "I told her that I found the letter I wrote to you when I was a child, and that now I understand she was also a frightened child, trying to do the best she could in a difficult situation. Son, your mother would be proud of the man you've become. Dad, she would be proud of the family we've become." The documentary, The Letter in the Trash, A Story of Reunion, aired on television on a Sunday night and had an unexpected impact. The Mediation Center began receiving calls from all over the country from families who wanted help to reconcile. "We're not prepared to serve all of the United States," said Jennifer during a foundation meeting. "Then let's prepare," replied Michael. "We'll train people in other cities. We'll create a network of mediation centers." "Are you sure you want to expand that much?" asked William. "Dad, remember what you always said about helping those in need?" "I remember. Now we have the means to help many more people. It would be selfish of us to keep this experience just to ourselves." In 2 years, the National Network of Family Mediation Centers was present in 15 American states. Michael had partially stepped away from the construction business to dedicate himself fully to the foundation. Jennifer had become a sought-after speaker at social assistance conferences. William, at 70 years old, traveled across the country inaugurating new centers. "Dad, don't you think you're pushing yourself too hard?" asked Michael during one of their trips. "Son, I spent 40 years unable to help my own family. Now that I can help hundreds of families, do you think I'm going to stop? We just don't want you to harm yourself. Michael, my health has never been better. Having a purpose in life has rejuvenated me." And it was true. William seemed to have gained new energy. He worked tirelessly, but always with a smile on his face. "Do you know what my greatest joy is?" he said to Jennifer during one of the inaugurations. "What, Daddy?" "It's seeing that our pain has turned into hope for other people. It's knowing that that crumpled letter you found in the trash became the starting point for a national movement of family reconciliation. Daddy, sometimes I feel like all of this is a dream." "Jennifer, if it is a dream, it's a collective dream. It's the dream of all the families we've managed to reunite." 5 years after the reunion, Michael and Amanda had their first child, a boy they named William, in honor of his grandfather. Jennifer and Benjamin also had a daughter, Elizabeth, in honor of her grandmother. William's first meeting with his grandson was emotional. "Grandpa, this is William," said Michael, placing the baby in his father's arms. "My grandson," whispered William, with tears in his eyes. "You're going to grow up in a united family, my little one. You'll always know how much you're loved. Dad, would you like to be his godfather?" "Michael, it would be the greatest honor of my life." The baptism of both grandchildren was celebrated at the church in the community where the first mediation center was located. William made sure the ceremony was open to all families that had been helped by the foundation. "Today we are not just baptizing 2 children," said the priest during the ceremony. "We are celebrating the renewal of a family and the birth of a new generation that will grow up knowing the value of forgiveness and reconciliation." Margaret, now 75 years old but still lucid and active, was chosen as godmother to both babies. "Mr. William, who would have thought I'd live to see this family completely reunited and happy," she said, holding Elizabeth in her lap. "Margaret, you were the angel who guarded our family. If it weren't for you, we might never have been reunited." "Mr. William, I just did what my heart told me to. Sometimes that's what we need, to follow the heart instead of reason." That night, after the baptism party, Michael found his father sitting alone in the garden of the Pasadena house, watching the stars. "Dad, what are you thinking about?" "I'm thinking about the letter you wrote when you were 8 years old." "You still think about it?" "Every day, son. That letter changed everything. Not just our family, but hundreds of other families. How can a child's letter have so much power? Because it was written with pure love, without ulterior motives, without pride, without fear. It was a cry from the heart of a child who just wanted his father back. Michael sat next to his father. "Dad, can I make a confession?" "Of course." "I wrote many other letters to you over the years. Whenever I was sad, whenever I had an important achievement, whenever I missed you." "You wrote other letters?" "Dozens. But I never sent any because I didn't know where you were." "Do you still have those letters?" "Some, yes. I kept them in a box in my office." "Michael, could you show me those letters?" "Of course, Dad. Actually, I'd like you to read all of them." The next day, Michael brought a shoebox full of letters he had written to his father throughout his life. There were letters from when he graduated from college, from when he started his business, from when he got married, from when he felt like giving up on everything. William read each one with emotion, realizing he had been present in his son's life through those unsent words. "Son, do you know what we're going to do with these letters?" "What, Dad?" "We're going to publish a book. Letters to an absent father could help other children express their feelings, and other fathers understand the impact of their absences. Do you think people would be interested?" "Michael, how many people in the world have unsent letters stored in drawers? How many fathers would like to know what their children think about them?" The book idea excited the whole family. Jennifer suggested including letters she had written to her father too, and even William decided to include letters he wrote to his children during the years of separation. Unsent Letters, A Family Reunites Through Words, was published a year later and became a national bestseller. The book inspired other families to reconcile and became study material in family psychology courses. "Michael, do you realize the magnitude of what we've done?" asked Jennifer during the book launch. "How so?" "We started wanting to solve our own family problems and ended up creating a national reconciliation movement. Jennifer, I think that was our mission from the beginning. The pain we felt had a greater purpose." "Do you believe all this was predestined to happen?" asked William. "Dad, I believe love always finds a way. It might take time, it might be painful, but it always finds one." 10 years after the reunion, the Harrison family had become a national symbol of family reconciliation. The foundation served more than 5,000 families per year, the book had sold over 500,000 copies, and they received invitations to speak at universities and international conferences. Michael, now 56 years old, was a father of 3 and divided his time between managing the foundation and raising the children. He made sure to be present for every important moment in their lives. Jennifer, 52 years old, had become one of the country's leading experts in family mediation. She had 2 children and wrote academic articles about family reconciliation. William, at 77 years old, remained active in the foundation, but now dedicated more time to his grandchildren and great-grandchildren who were starting to arrive. "Dad, how do you feel seeing everything we've built together?" asked Michael during Sunday lunch. "Son, I feel complete. I feel that 8-year-old boy who wrote the letter finally had his request answered." "How so?" "You asked me to come back home, and I came back, not just for you, but for hundreds of families who found their way back to each other. Dad, do you have any advice for other families going through separations?" "Yes, I do. Don't let pride speak louder than love. Don't be afraid to ask for forgiveness. And most importantly, never believe it's too late to start over. And for fathers who are far from their children, that they never give up. A father's love is eternal, even when it can't be shown. And one day, somehow, that love will find its way back." That night, Michael returned home and found his oldest son, William Jr., 9 years old, writing a letter at the kitchen table. "What are you writing, son?" "A letter to Grandpa William, Daddy." "May I read it?" "Of course." Michael read, "Grandpa, thank you for coming back to our family before I was born. Because of your story with my daddy, I know I'll never be far from my family. I love you very much. Your grandson, William." Michael got emotional, realizing the family story was being passed down to the new generation. "Son, do you know why you wrote this letter?" "Because Daddy told me the story about the letter he wrote to Grandpa when he was little, and I wanted to write a letter too, but a thank you letter. And are you going to give it to Grandpa? Yes, I am, on Sunday when we go to his house for lunch. Michael smiled, realizing his children were growing up in a reality completely different from what he had known. They were growing up surrounded by love, with family present, knowing how to resolve conflicts through dialogue. "Daddy, can I ask you something?" said William Jr. "Of course, son." "Do you miss the time when you didn't know Grandpa?" Michael thought carefully about his answer. "Son, I feel sadness for the time we lost together, but I don't miss it, because now our family is complete, and most importantly, you're growing up in a family where everyone loves and respects each other. Daddy, when I grow up, I want to work at the foundation too." "Why, son?" "Because I want to help other families stay united like ours." Michael hugged his son, realizing the Harrison family legacy would continue through future generations. The following Sunday, when William Jr. gave the letter to his grandfather, the whole family was moved. William read the letter aloud and then said, "My grandson, you can't imagine how much these words mean to me. Knowing our story inspired you to value family is the greatest reward I could receive. Grandpa, can you tell me again the story about the letter my daddy wrote?" "Yes, I can. But first I want you to understand something. That letter wasn't just a letter from a child to his father. It was the beginning of a love story that transformed many lives." "How, Grandpa?" "Because when two people truly love each other, that love multiplies and reaches other people. Your daddy's letter not only reunited us, but inspired thousands of other families to reunite too." William Jr. listened attentively to the story he already knew, but which always moved him. And in that moment, Michael realized the letter he had written at 8 years old had become much more than a child's desperate plea. It had become a symbol that family love can overcome any obstacle, no matter how big. 15 years after the reunion, Michael was in his office organizing the foundation's documents when he found the original letter he had written to his father. It was still framed on the wall, but now sharing space with hundreds of photos of the reunited family, foundation certificates, and thank you letters from families they had helped. He picked up the letter and read it again. "Daddy, please come home. Mommy cries every night and I promise I'll be a good boy. I know you don't like us anymore, but I love you very much. Your son, Michael." He smiled, realizing how wrong that child had been in his assumptions, but so right in his feelings. The father had never stopped liking them. The father had never stopped loving them. And now, 15 years later, Michael knew his promise to be a good boy had been fulfilled in a way even he couldn't have imagined. He had become a good man, a present father, a grateful son, and an instrument of reconciliation for hundreds of other families. That afternoon, William called Michael. "Son, I need to talk to you." "What happened, Dad? Are you okay?" "I'm great. Actually, I want to propose something to you and Jennifer." "What is it?" "How about we take a trip together, just the three of us, a trip to celebrate these 15 years of family reunion?" "Dad, what a wonderful idea. Where would you like to go?" "You know what place I've always wanted to see? The place where I was born, in the countryside of Minas Gerais. I left there when I was young and never went back. Then let's go." "When do you want to go?" "Next month, if you can." The trip to Minas Gerais was emotional. William revisited places from his childhood, introduced his children to distant relatives he hadn't seen in decades, and told family stories that Michael and Jennifer had never heard before. "Dad, why did you never bring us here before?" asked Jennifer. "Because I was ashamed to return as a man separated from his family. Now I can return as a proud father, accompanied by my children." During the trip, they visited the house where William had been born, now inhabited by distant cousins. They visited the grave of Michael and Jennifer's grandparents, whom they had never met, and most importantly, they talked a lot about the family, about the past, about the future. "Dad, do you have any dreams you haven't fulfilled yet?" asked Michael during one of their conversations. "Yes, I do. I want to see all my grandchildren and great-grandchildren grow up. I want them to always remember that they are part of a family that knew how to overcome adversity through love. That dream will come true, Dad. You will see all of them grow up. And there's one more thing I want." "What?" I want that when I'm gone, you don't feel sadness for my absence. I want you to feel joy for the years we had together after we reunited. Dad, don't talk like that. Michael, it's important to talk about this. I'm 78 years old. I've lived much more than I deserved after getting my family back. You deserve to live much longer still. Son, what I want to say is that I'm at peace. If anything happens to me, you must continue the Foundation's work, continue helping families, continue being a united family. That conversation left Michael and Jennifer thoughtful, but also grateful for having had the opportunity to hear those words from their father. Back in Los Angeles, the family's life continued at its normal pace. William remained active in the Foundation. Michael divided his time between managing the projects and raising the children. Jennifer expanded the outreach programs. It was during one of the Foundation's meetings that William fell ill. He was presenting the results of the last quarter when he felt a sharp pain in his chest and fainted. Michael and Jennifer accompanied him to the hospital, where the doctors diagnosed a heart attack. Fortunately, William was treated quickly and recovered well, but the doctors recommended that he slow down his work pace. Dad, maybe it's time for you to officially retire, said Michael during his recovery. Michael, if I stop working, I'll die of boredom. Not completely, Dad, but perhaps take on a more advisory role, less operational. And who will take my place? We will, Dad. Michael and I already manage most of the projects, said Jennifer. Are you sure you can handle it? Dad, everything we know about family mediation we learned from you. It's time to put it into practice. William agreed to gradually step back from the Foundation's operational activities, but maintained his role as advisor and spokesperson for the projects. You know what the advantage of having more free time is, he said to Michael a few weeks later. What, Dad? I can spend more time with the grandchildren, and I'm writing a book about our experience at the Foundation. A book about the Foundation? Yes, a practical guide for people who want to create family mediation centers in their communities. I want our experience to be replicated anywhere in the world. The book, How to Reunite Families, A Practical Guide to Family Mediation, was published 2 years later and became an international reference in the field. Universities in various countries have started using the book as teaching material, and NGOs worldwide have begun seeking out the Foundation to learn about the methods developed by the Harrison family. Dad, do you realize we've become a global reference? Said Jennifer during the book's international launch. Jennifer, we've become proof that any family can reconcile as long as there's love and willingness from both sides. And that a crumpled letter found in the trash can changed the world, added Michael. 20 years after the reunion, the Harrison family had grown considerably. Michael had 4 children, Jennifer had 3, and there were already 2 great-grandchildren of William. The house in Pasadena had been expanded several times to accommodate all the family gatherings. The most touching part was seeing how family values were being passed down to the new generations. All of William's grandchildren knew the story of the letter, all valued family unity, and several had already shown interest in working at the Foundation when they grew up. Grandpa, when I grow up, can I work with you? Asked Emily, Jennifer's 12-year-old granddaughter. Of course, my dear, but why do you want to work at the Foundation? Because I want to help other families stay united like ours, and also because I think I have a knack for it. How do you know you have a knack? At school, whenever 2 classmates fight, they call me to help resolve it. The teacher said I know how to listen to both sides and find solutions. William smiled, seeing that the new generation had inherited not only the family values, but also the talent for mediating conflicts. Emily, when you're old enough, you'll be very welcome on our team. Thank you, Grandpa, and I promise I'll study hard to be good at it. That night, William commented to Michael, Son, did you see Emily today? She's only 12, but she already shows emotional maturity to handle conflicts. I did, Dad. I think this ability is being passed down genetically to the new generation. Or maybe it's the environment they're growing up in. Children who see adults solving problems through dialogue learn to do the same. Dad, sometimes I think about what our family would be like if we hadn't reunited. Michael, I'd rather not think about that. I prefer to be thankful every day for the letter you wrote as a child. That letter really changed everything. It wasn't just the letter, son, it was the love that motivated that letter. It was Margaret's courage in keeping it. It was Dorothy Smith's honesty in delivering your mother's letter. It was Jennifer's willingness to face her fears. It was many people doing the right thing at the right time. Dad, do you think our story can inspire other families for many generations? Michael, I'm sure of it, because our story isn't just about a family that reunited. It's about the power of love, forgiveness, and persistence. 2 years later, William turned 80. The family organized a big party at the house in Pasadena, inviting all the families that had been helped by the foundation over the years. "Mr. William," said a lady during the party, "I wanted to thank you personally. My family reconciled 5 years ago through the mediation center. Today my son and I are best friends." "This is the greatest reward I could receive on my birthday," replied William. "Mr. William, you saved my family," said a middle-aged man. "I hadn't spoken to my daughter for 10 years. Today she's here with me, with my grandchildren." Stories like these repeated throughout the party. Michael and Jennifer realized their father had become much more than a father to them. He had become a symbolic father to hundreds of other families. "Dad, how do you feel seeing the impact you've had on so many people's lives?" asked Jennifer. "Daughter, I feel humble. I never imagined our personal pain could turn into hope for so many people. You deserve all this recognition." "Jennifer, the recognition is ours, belongs to the whole family. Because it was by working together that we managed to turn our experience into something that could help others." "Dad, what's your greatest joy today?" "Seeing you two working together, watching my grandchildren and great-grandchildren grow up in a united family, and knowing our story will keep inspiring people even after I'm gone." "Dad, don't talk like that." "Michael, I've said it many times. It's important to talk about this. I've lived much longer than I expected. I got my family back, met my grandchildren and great-grandchildren, helped hundreds of other families. My life has been complete." That night, after the party, Michael found his father sitting alone in the garden, looking at the starry sky. "Dad, may I keep you company?" "Of course, son. Sit here." "What are you thinking about?" "I'm thinking about how surprising life is. 22 years ago I was a lonely man, separated from my family, thinking I had lost everything. Today I'm a grandfather to 7 grandchildren, a great-grandfather to 2 great-grandchildren, and part of a huge, united family. And it all started with a letter found in the trash." "Michael, it might sound strange, but I'm grateful we went through that separation." "How so, Dad?" "Because if we hadn't gone through that pain, we would never have developed the empathy needed to help other families. Our personal experience gave us the moral authority to talk about family reconciliation. You're right. Our pain turned into purpose, and our purpose turned into legacy. Dad, what are your hopes for the Foundation's future? That you continue the work, that you involve the new generation, and that you never forget that the most important thing isn't the number of families helped, but the quality of the help. Aren't you worried about leaving behind such a big work?" "Michael, I'm not leaving behind a work. I'm leaving behind a mission. And I'm sure you will fulfill this mission with far more competence than I did." 3 years later, William Harrison passed away in his sleep at 83. It was a peaceful passing, without suffering, as if he had simply decided he had fulfilled his mission on Earth. The wake was moving. Hundreds of people came to say goodbye to the man who had reunited so many families. There were children who had reconciled with parents, parents who had reunited with children, siblings who had overcome old differences. Michael gave the main speech during the funeral. "My father taught us that love has no expiration date, that it's never too late to ask for forgiveness, to start over, to fight for family. He showed us that pain can be turned into purpose, and that a simple man can change the world when he acts with love in his heart." Jennifer also spoke. "Our father left in peace because he knew he had fulfilled his mission. He brought us together as a family, created a national reconciliation movement, and left a legacy that will keep helping families for many generations." Margaret, now 85 but still sharp, gave a moving speech. "Mr. William was the most generous man I ever knew. Even when he was suffering from the family separation, he kept helping other people, and when he got his family back, he turned that experience into a life mission. He left knowing he had made a difference in the lives of thousands of people. After the funeral, Michael and Jennifer met to plan the foundation's future. "Jennifer, we have a great responsibility now." "I know, Michael, but we also have a great inheritance. Everything our father taught us about family mediation and about the importance of never giving up on love. What do you think should be our first step?" "To continue exactly as he would have. To serve families, train new mediators, expand the work." "And long-term?" "Long-term, I want our foundation to become a global reference in family reconciliation. I want our father's story to inspire families worldwide." "Jennifer, do you think we can honor his legacy?" "Michael, we have no choice. We must succeed. For him, for us, and for all the families who still need help." 1 year after William's passing, Michael and Jennifer inaugurated the William Harrison Institute for Family Mediation, a center of excellence that offered training courses for family mediators at an international level. "Dad, wherever you are, I hope you're proud," said Michael during the inauguration ceremony. That night, Michael returned home and found his oldest son, William Jr., now 19, reading the book Unsent Letters. "Son, why are you reading that again?" "Dad, I'm preparing to work at the foundation. I want to understand every detail of our family history." "Are you sure you want to follow this path?" "I am, Dad. I want to honor Grandpa's memory and continue the work he started." "And your business administration studies?" "I'll finish college, but I want to specialize in NGO management. I want to be prepared to take on responsibilities at the foundation." Michael was moved to see the new generation taking up the commitment to continue the family legacy. "Son, your grandfather would be very proud to know this." "Dad, can I tell you something?" "Of course. Sometimes I dream about Grandpa, and in the dream, he's always smiling, saying the family is on the right path." "Son, I dream about him too, and I always wake up with the feeling that he's somehow watching over our work." "Dad, do you think Grandpa knew he was going to pass when he did?" "I think so, son. In the last conversations we had, he always talked about the future of the foundation, about our responsibility to continue the work. And do you think he's at peace?" "I'm sure, son. He left knowing he had recovered the family, that he had left an important legacy, and that we would continue his work. 5 years after William's passing, the United Family Foundation, the new name chosen by the family, served over 10,000 families per year in 20 countries. Michael had become an international speaker, Jennifer had written 3 books on family mediation, and the new generation was already beginning to take on responsibilities in the organization. "Michael, sometimes I get the impression that our father planned all this," said Jennifer during one of their meetings. "How so?" "He prepared us so well to take over the work that it seems he knew exactly when he would leave and how to leave everything organized." "Jennifer, I think he really did know. In our last conversations, he always insisted that we pay attention to every detail of the work. And now the new generation is preparing to take over too. It's amazing how the family values are being passed down, isn't it? Michael, do you know what brings me the greatest joy?" "What?" "Knowing that our children and grandchildren will never go through what we went through. They're growing up in a united family, knowing how to resolve conflicts through dialogue, and they'll pass that on to their children." "Exactly. Our father's legacy will continue for many generations." 10 years after William's passing, Michael was organizing the foundation's files when he found a letter his father had left to be opened after his passing. "My dear children, Michael and Jennifer, if you are reading this letter, it means I have departed in peace, knowing I left the foundation in the best possible hands. I want you to know that the years we lived together after the reunion were the happiest of my life. I also want you to know that I am eternally grateful for the letter that Michael wrote when he was 8 years old. That letter not only reunited us as a family, but became a symbol that love never dies. It just sometimes needs time to find its way back. Continue the foundation's work, but most importantly, continue being a united family. Teach your children and grandchildren that there is no greater treasure than a family that loves and supports one another. And never forget, I love you forever, and wherever I am, I will always be proud of you. With all my love, Dad. Michael and Jennifer cried as they read the letter, but they also smiled, feeling the loving presence of their father even after so many years since his passing. Jennifer, even after his death, he continues to teach us about family love. Michael, I think this is the greatest proof that love truly never dies, and that a united family is really the greatest treasure anyone can have. 25 years after the Harrison family reunion, Michael was sitting on the same bench in the garden of the house in Pasadena, where he had spoken so many times with his father. Now he was 61 years old, a grandfather to 5 grandchildren, and the foundation served families in 40 countries. His oldest grandson, William III, 16 years old, approached him. "Grandpa, can I sit with you?" "Of course, my boy." "Grandpa, can you tell me the story of the letter again?" Michael smiled. Even after so many years, the story of the letter continued to fascinate the new generations. "Which part of the story do you want to hear?" "All of it, Grandpa, from the beginning." "Then I'll tell it from the start." Once upon a time, there was an 8-year-old boy who loved his father very much. As Michael told the story to his grandson, he could almost feel William's presence there beside him, smiling to see that the family remained united and that the story of the reunion continued to inspire new generations. "Grandpa, do you think great-grandfather William would be proud of how the family has grown?" "I'm sure, my boy. He always said he wanted to see the family grow united for many generations." "And the foundation? Would he be proud of the work you all continued?" "I think so, but mostly he would be proud to know that you, the new generation, also want to continue this work." "Grandpa, when I grow up, I want to work at the foundation too." "Why, my boy?" "Because I want to help other families stay united like ours, and also because I want to honor great-grandfather's memory." Michael hugged his grandson, realizing that William's legacy would continue to live on much longer than anyone could have imagined. "My boy, your great-grandfather would be very happy to know you want to continue his work." "Grandpa, can I ask you a question?" "Of course." "If you could go back in time and change something in our family's history, would you change it?" Michael thought carefully about his answer. "No, my boy, because if we hadn't gone through the separation, we would never have developed the wisdom needed to help other families. Our pain turned into purpose, and our purpose turned into legacy. So sometimes bad things need to happen so good things can come." "Not exactly, my boy. But when bad things happen, we have the choice to let them destroy us or turn them into strength to help other people. And you chose to transform." "Exactly. And that's why our family became much stronger and more united than it was before." That night, Michael returned home with a heart full of gratitude. Gratitude for the letter he had written as a child. Gratitude for Margaret having kept that letter. Gratitude for the reunion with his father. Gratitude for the years they had together, and most of all, gratitude for seeing that the family legacy would continue to live on through the next generations. Before going to sleep, as he had done every night for 25 years, Michael looked at the framed letter on the bedroom wall and whispered, "Thank you, Dad, for coming back home, for teaching us the true meaning of family, and for turning our pain into hope for so many other families." And somewhere William Harrison smiled, knowing that his mission had been accomplished on a much broader scale than he could ever have imagined. An 8-year-old child's letter had become a symbol that family love can overcome any obstacle, and that it's never too late for a family to reunite. End of story. Dear listeners, this story shows us that family love is capable of overcoming any barrier, and that it's never too late to reconcile with those we love. Why not tell us? Did you identify with any character in this story? Have you experienced a family reunion situation? Share your experience in the comments, because your words may inspire other families. Don't forget to leave your like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other moving stories like this one. Thank you for your company.